Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you.
So it was pouring down rain throughout the last couple of stops of my tour tonight, and I loved it. I know I'm not supposed to, it's bad, like flooding was happening, I should have been, worried, and some of my guests got a little bit, less than pleased, but I sort of love rain when it's warm out. It's really nice. And the tonight mostly was about the rain. Like that is the majority of the events tonight. While I was going between one tour and the next, I did get a text message from, or a message, like a message on the messenger service, from one group of tour guides that there had been a fight at Rouse's with a knife, and I was like, ooh, I might be able to get information on that, and rushed back to the store because someone for that company is dating the security guard at Rouse's. So I was like, information? What's going on? Is he okay? Is everything good? And she texted him, and it turns out, yes, there was a knife fight at Rouse's. It was fine. He broke it up. One guy ran off. Pretty normal stuff. Nothing big. But the rain. The rain was absolutely lovely, and at least for me, because it started near the end of the tour, and I will admit, rain through the end of the tour is fabulous. Rain throughout the entire duration of the tour is not great, and rain only at the beginning of the tour is terrible, because then you're walking around in squelching shoes for the rest of the night. And this was the kind of rain that went from a light sprinkling to, oh my god, I'm having trouble supporting my umbrella because the weight of the water on it is so heavy. And, that's fine. It's good. And I'm just trying to finish up my tour and send these people home. And the problem is, I was at the second to last stop, and a random lady stopped her car right behind my group. And she looked like she'd had better days. Like, she was a little bit frazzled, looked a little bit harried, and she just shouts out the window, "Y'all know there's a tornado watch, right?" And I'm like, no, there's not. Like, I'm sorry, honey, but no. And, like, I turned to my guests, and they're all looking super nervous. And I'm like, guys, there's not. There's a severe weather watch going on in Jefferson Parish, which is basically the county next door. It's not here. And it's mainly a flooding watch. And yeah, by the time I was done with the tour, there were warnings about flooding in Orleans Parish as well. But the important thing, flooding, not tornado. Very different things. And of course, I checked my phone between stops to reassure them that, no, really, there has been no weather warning. We're fine. But they were looking super nervous throughout the rest of the tour, and I kept having to reassure them, like, no, I would stop the tour if it was dangerous weather. It's not dangerous weather. It's just raining. If y'all want to leave, that's not a problem, but I'm going to keep going until you tell me to stop. But the other big moment was at the very end of the tour, very last stop. It briefly stopped raining, so we were standing out in the middle, out of cover, and it started drizzling again, and I'm like, it's about to start pouring. So I took them under a balcony, and right when we were walking by, it's one of the spots that there is a fountain, and there are frogs in the fountain. And I don't know why. I have been doing this job for, almost a decade. And most people, you just tell them that those are frogs, and they go, okay. Once in a blue moon, you'll get that person who's like, what? What do you mean? Are they electronic frogs? Or whatever. But the last couple of weeks, everyone that I've told those are frogs, they're all like, are you sure? Is it not music? I'm sure it's not frogs. Frogs don't sound like that. I'm like, guys, I grew up in the South. I've heard that sound my entire life. That's frogs. If it rains enough, I'll be able to catch one and hand it to you, because they will wander out of the garden into the rest of the space. It's frogs. But I was explaining to my guests that it was frogs, and a group of random Australians were passing by. And they interrupt my conversation, be like, random lady, you seem to know stuff. What's that sound? And I'm like, it's frogs. And they're like, they can't be. And I'm like, they're frogs. And they're like, no, frogs don't sound like that. I'm like, they're frogs. Y'all clearly aren't from around here. This is what our frogs sound like. And they're like, are they big frogs? I'm like, they're little frogs. And also, guys, I'm on a tour. I'm trying to finish a fucking story here. But finally, they wandered on after making some weird joke about stealing my umbrella. But I got to finish the tour, everything was fine, and then I got to walk to my car through pouring rain. And because my feet were already wet at that point, there was no point in not just splashing in the puddles, and I'm jumping around in the puddles like I'm a toddler and having the best time until I get to Bourbon Street. And I could smell the sewage, and I'm like, okay, avoiding these puddles, but about a block away, once again, jumping in the puddles. And then I get to come home and change into dry clothing, which is, of course, what makes jumping in the puddles the most fun. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and be sure to check out my book, Drunks of the French Quarter Theater, available on Amazon, bookshop.org, Barnes & Noble, pretty much wherever.